Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 276th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast. Brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing great, Cameron. How are you?
I'm doing well. People were really paying attention to YouTube recently. They might have noticed that our Drew Lock bobblehead was broken. My daughter was playing with him, dropped him on the floor, broke him into pieces.
Oh, I mean, really, really broken.
Yeah. But in honor of his game-winning drive last couple nights ago, for the Seahawks, I had to get out the super glue, get him back in shape, get him back in playing shape. And just like Drew, I didn't know if he had it in him to look this good again. But sure enough, he looks fantastic once again.
Cameron, I got to say, what you've done here is truly remarkable. Knowing where he was a week ago.
Yeah.
So in this physical form here and also in real life, yeah,
exactly.
he has made a transformation.
Yeah. You were watching that game live?
I was.
I didn't catch it live. Had to catch up after the fact.
Yeah, he against the Eagles, who, I mean, one of the best teams in the NFL, and had, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 minutes to drive down the field, and they were losing, and made a couple really impressive throws on the drive, and then finished the drive off with maybe a 20, 30-yard touchdown to Jackson Smith and Jigba.
With less than a minute left.
Yeah, like 40 seconds left. And, man, it was just a thing of beauty. And, obviously Missouri fans remember the little backpack touchdown celebration from the Texas Bowl back in 2017 that was mocked online very much and by Tom Herman.
And then you tweeted about Tom Herman and called him trash?
I stood up for my boy Drew Lock, and I said that he was absolute trash. And
you said that Tom Herman was absolute trash.
It was viewed like 4 million times. It was like I posted like the video of him doing
It's almost the anniversary of that, so perfect timing.
It's coming
again.
up. Yeah. And the other day, I was actually just kind of curious. Like someone said something about Tom Herman, and I was like, I typed in Google Tom Herman absolute trash, and there's like all of these articles that like have my tweet on it and stuff like that, like SB Nation and all these like pretty big different companies or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yes, that was my moment of internet fame thanks to Drew Lock and Tom Herman. But anyways, Drew Lock, after he threw the touchdown the other night, he kind of like started to do the backpack thing. And he did it so perfectly. It was like, does it still fit? Will it still go on? Yes, it will. And
whoever's running the truck, the production team, perfect cuts to Geno Smith doing the backpack and nodding like, yeah, you got it.
Gassing him up.
Man.
Yeah, he gave a pretty great interview after the game, too. Very candid. He usually is. But was getting a little choked up just talking about how he hasn't played in a long time. And so you just kind of almost doubt yourself. Like, can I still do this? And
his guys picked him up.
His guys got him.
Yeah.
And I feel like, Drew Lock, he's got a lot of personality. I mean, he shows it. He's dancing on the sidelines or singing along with a song or whatever. And I feel like people make fun of him a lot online, but I feel like he doesn't get the credit for how good of a quarterback he really is. Like he's better than I think a lot of people think.
After that, I had to just go watch Drew Lock Mizzou highlights on YouTube for a little while. And there's one video that's every Drew Lock Mizzou touchdown. It's like 20 minutes long. That was
a long video.
Yeah. Yep. It's a Drew Lock. I love him. And he's back in good shape, back playing, throwing touchdowns.
He set the internet on fire, that's for sure.
Kyle, we have a lot to talk about tonight. It's already pretty late. We are going to talk about basketball a little bit. We're going to talk about this. Actually, last week when we recorded, it was the same day that the 2024 football schedule came out, so we didn't have time to react to that yet, so we'll do that. Talk about the high school signing class since it's National Signing Day, the newest updates on the transfer portal situation, and then we're going to do our official preview of the Cotton Bowl matchup with Ohio State, and we're going to pick all the SEC bowl games. So strap in, buckle up.
Busy day.
Yeah. Before we do all that,
Gotta wish you Merry Christmas.
we got to wish you a Merry Christmas.
And a Happy Holidays.
Happy holidays, all of the above. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. So we'll start it off with Mizzou basketball. We'll try to keep this pretty short because we have a lot to get to, but they lost to Seton Hall 93-87 in Kansas City. In the preview, I talked about Alamir Dawes, who was like streaky shooter, went 5 of 15 from 3 against Rutgers. Well, he goes 4 of 11 from 3 against Missouri. And then Dylan Adewusu, he just tore us to shreds. He had made 8 threes on the season before this game. And of course, against Missouri, goes 4 for 6 from 3. And the Seton Hall team that was the worst three-point shooting team in the Big East goes 10 of 23 from 3, while also shooting 70% from 2 and getting to the free throw line 23 times. And that's how you score 93 points.
Yeah, Missouri has a habit of doing that, like making teams that are offensively inept look really talented. And I feel like this was maybe like the best example of that, where Seton Hall it was like they couldn't miss.
Yeah. And we're kind of just like getting wherever they wanted on the floor, getting good matchups and mismatches. Missouri this season has done this thing where they just like are right with a team and then will go on a 4 or 5 minute stretch where they can't score. And in the first half, Seton Hall had a 16-3 run. In the second half, Seton Hall had an 18-3 run. But Missouri, to their credit, doesn't give up. It was just too little too late against Seton Hall. They mounted a comeback and made it close to where they were like fouling, and Seton Hall had to make some free throws to put it away late. But you can't give up 93 points. And I think in the second half, I think they gave up 51 or something like that. So it was pretty ugly. And for Missouri offensively, Sean East and Nick Honor were like non-existent in the first half. Tamar Bates was holding his own early, but then he didn't really do a whole lot in the second half. Sean East did finally wake up and provide a spark and, try to take over the game late, but it was just too late.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty
that was
obvious.
just kind of a disappointing one because you're playing in Kansas City. It is one of these neutral site games that Missouri basically turns into a home game.
Should be a home game, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty obvious Missouri's not going to be able to overcome bad games from both Nick Honor and Sean East. And I don't know, do you think that Missouri's missing Caleb Grill quite a bit?
I think, yes. At least in this game, that seemed pretty obvious. It seems like not having Grill should be something that you can overcome because he hasn't been like insanely productive in even Missouri's wins this year. But
almost maybe more defensively.
Yeah, probably. And the fact that Noah Carter has not shown the ability to create his own shot opportunities has probably been the most distressing thing about Missouri offensively so far.
Yeah, I feel like Noah Carter might be the most disappointing part of the season so far. And obviously, Missouri's had a decent season for the most part.
And he's not playing terrible.
Right, but he just has not taken that next step like we saw a couple of players take last year. Like, I think that we kind of just assumed that Noah Carter, another year of experience, and was going to be depended on way more this season than last. He just didn't take the step, at least hasn't so far. And I don't know, he was so efficient last year. It felt like everybody was so efficient last year, and kind of struggling to see that so far.
Sean East, though, has taken that step. But like you said, this team cannot withstand him having an off game. Like, maybe you could if Nick Honor is hot from 3 and Noah Carter is also hot from 3, because that's all you have left. Like, if Sean East isn't getting into the paint, then you just have spot up 3-point shooters who you need to be hitting shots. So It's still not the end of the world, though, because, like, I don't know, there's still plenty of opportunities ahead of Missouri. There's still a top 100 KenPom team, but it just is not going to get much easier going into conference play. And before we do that, Missouri plays Illinois in St. Louis. And Illinois is pretty good this year. They're 8-2 on the season. And pretty nice wins over Florida Atlantic and Rutgers. And their 2 losses were to a very good Marquette and Tennessee teams. So they're solid. Side note, Marquette just lost their first Big East game of the season to Kim English's Providence team. Providence.
Were you about to say like the Providence mascot, and then you couldn't think of what?
Providence Friars.
There you go.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Providence is 39th in KenPom.
It's pretty good.
Number 8 defense in the country.
I almost totally forgot that Kim English was at Providence.
Yeah. That was like, obviously we were paying attention to that when he made the move, but it's kind of maybe a little bit like under the radar coaching change from this past offseason. Anyway, Illinois. They are led by former Texas Tech transfer Terrence Shannon, and so far this season he's been one of the best players in the country. Had a good season for Illinois last year. Then he is helped by Southern Illinois transfer Marcus Domask, and he's kind of a slashing forward who gets to the rim, gets to the free throw line. Offensively, Illinois likes to play a lot of one-on-one and exploit mismatches, and honestly, they are fine to just kind of clear it out and let Shannon do his thing a lot of the time. And just kind of spread out shooters and let Shannon create for himself or kick it out. But they don't get a lot of assists, so it is a lot of one-on-one trying to exploit mismatches. Defensively, or like when Missouri has the ball, I feel like our guards are going to struggle against Illinois' size in the backcourt. Shannon's listed at 6'6". Their 2 guard is listed at 6'6". Then they've got kind of a tweener guard forward that's 6'7". So the 2 deep in the backcourt are all guys taller than Sean East. So I just feel like, and they're going to pressure the ball quite a bit. I don't know. I'm feeling pessimistic coming off the Seton Hall loss.
Yeah.
And looking at this Illinois team, the way it's constructed.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a nightmare matchup, which is exactly how I felt last year going into the Illinois game. You know, I think last year we knew about Missouri's struggles on the perimeter and how good Illinois was at shooting threes and kind of spacing you out, and which, like you mentioned, Shannon does so well. But so it just feels like one of these days Illinois is just going to, you know, do what they do really well against Missouri and probably just blow the doors off of Missouri. That could be this year. But, you know, like they're a better team. They just don't win the game, right? Arkansas.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I don't know. It feels like that it very well could be the recipe for what happens. Like, you know, they had Terrence Shannon last year, though, and he really didn't play super well.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those rivalry game situations where sometimes things that make sense just go out the window completely.
Yeah, and unlike the Seton Hall game in Kansas City, there will be plenty of Illinois fans showing up in St. Louis. So it definitely feels more like a big game atmosphere when you have both fan bases equally represented and being loud. Mm-hmm. Illinois, one interesting thing about sort of their team profile is they're 13th in KenPom on defense, but they do not force turnovers. 341st in turnovers forced. They don't get steals. They don't get dead ball turnovers. They just rely on forcing you to take bad shots and not giving you second chance opportunities. It just feels like a nightmare matchup for Missouri. Neutral floor, I still feel like Missouri can keep it within 10, but if there was one of these, I feel like if Missouri had gotten like blown out by Kansas, then I'd be like, okay, but we'll keep it close against Illinois. Or if one of these other, because really the only game that Missouri has not really been in much was the Memphis game. So I just feel
after
like
leading at halftime.
That's true. Yeah. The second half, it just that complete meltdown. I don't know. I feel like this could be the one though. When we look back, that's like, yikes, that was a rough game.
Yeah, I think if it happens that way, we'll look back and say, yep, that makes a lot of sense. But that's never how bragging rights goes.
True. We will talk again, most likely, before Missouri plays Central Arkansas, and then it's conference season. And we will spend the rest of the episode talking about football, and we'll start with just a little rundown of the 2024 Missouri football schedule that was released last week. It's old news now, but I thought we would just run through it once real quick, give just off the top of the brain thoughts, and just, I'll say the game, you tell me if it's a win or loss. First game of the year at home, Murray State.
It's got to be a win. The schedule's set up nice too, where it's like almost in blocks where there's 4 games and a bye, 4 games and a bye.
Yeah. Second game, home against Buffalo.
I'll say that's a win.
Not high on Buffalo next year.
Probably not, no.
Third game of the season, another home game, this time against Boston College.
Revenge game. That's a W.
That one better be circled on everybody's calendar. Then first conference game of the season is at home against Vanderbilt.
That better be a win.
First block, 4-0. That's a
pretty reasonable block.
Yeah, I like that. Easy block, 4-0. Then you get a bye week before you go on the road at Texas A&M.
I have a new coach.
Yeah.
Tough place to play.
They're reloading.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything. I've only
Levius is going to Alabama.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we'll see him.
Yeah. They're losing everybody, though.
I think it's got to be a win.
Yeah.
Tough game. Tough place to play.
At this point right now, wouldn't be shocked if that's a loss, but it's like a measuring stick.
You're just perpetually going to have to play against talented players, but...
Yep, that's a challenge. Go on the road, get the win, show that 4-0 is not fraudulent. Go 5-0. Then we got a road matchup at UMass. Now everybody's upset about this. Are you upset?
I mean, it's a little bit weird, like considering what we've done with these other games the last couple of years. Like we didn't go to Memphis.
Yeah.
Bought that out. And, did the St. Louis thing with it. There was like Middle Tennessee State even, maybe.
Yeah.
Were we supposed to play there? That seems insane. I don't know. There was
Does that seem more insane than playing at UMass? Can we get UMass to come to St. Louis?
Probably. I don't know. Yeah, it's a little bit strange, I guess. I don't know if I'm upset about it.
Yeah. I feel like I was more aware of that sort of phenomenon this season. And I saw enough of that from other SEC teams that I was like, maybe... Losing to Boston College really just like tainted that entire experience.
UMass is like way even worse than that, though.
Of course, yeah.
It's weird, but it's whatever.
It's a win.
We'll see what happens.
It's a win, though.
It's a win.
Okay, now 6-0 hosting Auburn. This is I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just love that I'm going to do this to Auburn. Auburn coming to Columbia. Classic trap game before the road matchup with Alabama. Is that like insulting to Auburn? That's what I was going for there.
It probably would be to them, but shouldn't be.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Auburn, they kind of turned it around a little bit this year. Like they are not good, but they are they're going to a bowl. And
they're making some moves
so they'll be better next year than this season for sure. So. We get them at home. I think it'll be a win, but could be a good one.
7-0, number 8 in the country, Missouri Tigers, traveling to, I'll say it, defending national champions.
Wow,
number 1 team in the country, Alabama. College game day is in Tuscaloosa.
That's a legitimate possibility for sure. College game day. We'll see. That's a lot has to happen before we...
That's how it's going to go.
That's like almost a year from now.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to go, though.
They're going to go to Tuscaloosa and knock off Crimson Tide?
They could. I think they could. They probably won't. I'll say it's a loss.
We'll pencil it in as a loss. As I
could change my mind before next year.
Of course.
Think they'll win the bye week?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a win.
Because after the bye week, hosting Oklahoma.
Yeah, this might be the most anticipated game of the year for sure.
Those tickets are going to be hot.
It's going to be a good one. Got to win that.
Yeah, that's a win. So 3 games left, 2 road games and a home game, all 3 winnable.
Oklahoma might be falling apart at that point in the season. They might have already fired Venables and everything.
We can only hope.
Oh man. Okay, sorry, I interrupted.
That's fine. At South Carolina.
That's a win.
At Mississippi State.
That's a win.
Home against Arkansas.
That is the easiest win on the schedule. Okay, so wow, 11-1.
11-1, and that means a meeting with a rematch with Alabama in the SEC championship game.
That is the playoff confirmed,
Absolutely.
and most likely the SEC championship game.
Yeah, you would need. I don't know everybody else's schedule as much, but if this is how Missouri season goes, you're penciling in a rematch with Alabama in the championship.
I feel like obviously we're a ways out, but I mean the stars are aligning big time for a special season next year with just how many people are coming back, how much who we're retaining, who we have the chance to retain. I mean, this schedule is very favorable. I mean, you're avoiding Georgia, you're avoiding Ole Miss. At Alabama, you're going to probably lose one along the way, and so
you've got that road trip to A&M.
Yeah,
you got that home game against Oklahoma.
Couple of tough games for sure.
The home game against Auburn.
But yeah, getting Oklahoma at home, Auburn at home. Those are probably maybe the 2 best teams on the schedule outside of Alabama. So,
I'd rather it be those 2 than LSU and Texas.
Yeah, for sure. So I think Missouri had a pretty nice run out as far as scheduling goes.
11-1. Some people were saying, I don't see a loss here, which you never know. 11-1 going to the SEC championship game. Heard it here first. Probably not, but that's the schedule. So now let's talk about how Missouri's going to get there. It's going to be using some of these signees and some of these transfer portal acquisitions. We'll start with the high school signing class.
Today was signing day.
No real big fireworks necessarily for Mizzou. There was some last minute rumblings about Ryan Wingo, in case you hadn't heard enough about him yet. But he signed with Texas, as was expected at this point. Did you think they got a little chunk of change there just by stirring things up at the last minute?
Maybe. From Texas? Yeah. Probably.
I've got these in some kind of order here. We can just run through everybody and then maybe pick out a few guys to spotlight at the end. Starting off with, in my mind, the guy that really kicked off this class, 4-star wide receiver James Madison, chose Missouri over Florida State, and he's bringing his teammates, linebacker Nicholas Rodriguez, 3-star, and defensive tackle Justin Bodford, also 3-star. All 3 of those guys played high school ball at St. Thomas Aquinas, but James Madison, I feel really got the class going.
He was really vocal.
Yeah.
On Twitter, and like you said, was one of the first ones, one of the first dominoes to fall. So yeah, that's an impressive trio right there. And I definitely think Nicholas Rodriguez was kind of sneaky, good player to hang on to. I think some of the big boys were sniffing around for sure. Ohio State. I think he visited Ohio State maybe within the last month or 2. So that was one we didn't really hear a lot on, but I definitely think that there were others involved at Missouri kind of held off. So that's a big one.
Madison, though, listed at 6'3". That's something that jumped out to me because it does feel like we've kind of been missing some of these bigger bodied wide receivers that are more obviously Theo Weiss is doing it this year, but outside of him, our wide receivers are a little bit on the smaller side.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I just like seeing a big-bodied wide receiver out there.
Yeah, a couple of the wide receivers we're bringing in are kind of fit that mold.
Then next on my list is offensive lineman Ryan Justice, 3-star from Washington, Missouri. Another Missouri in-state kid, wide receiver Jude James, 3-star from Francis Howell in St. Charles. He is another guy that's, I am assuming he's going to play wide receiver.
It's like
in high school, he played safety also.
Up in the air at this point. Like some people think he could play the star position, kind of like the Dalen Carnell role. Some people think he's going to be a tight end. I think it'll probably be actually one of those two. I think it'll be a tight end or play kind of like a hybrid safety linebacker position.
Yeah, he did both in high school. So, he's listed at 6'2", 211 on the tweet that Mizzou Athletics sent out.
Yeah, he's kind of like just one of those no-nonsense, really good hands, just tell me what to do, I'll do it kind of player. Like he's just, I don't know, he's an underrated player, absolutely.
A couple more offensive linemen here. First, I have a JUCO offensive lineman, Javen Richardson from Hutchinson Community College, listed at 6'7", 305.
Large.
And then one of the more recent commits that signed was offensive lineman Caleb Pyfrom, 3-star from Omaha, Nebraska.
Good place for a Missouri billboard.
Yes, absolutely. So just adding guys in the trenches that are like SEC size.
Yeah.
Next is tight end Whit Hafer, also from Missouri, from Joplin, Missouri, listed at 6'7", 230. Feels like maybe a little bit more of a blocking tight end. I think he even like played a little bit of offensive line in high school. So welcome aboard. And then another in-state guy, Talon Chandler, 3-star offensive lineman from Nevada, Missouri.
Flipped from Colorado maybe like a month ago.
Yeah. And from Canton, Georgia, we have 3-star defensive back Jackson Hancock. And then moving to the state of Arkansas, there's billboards going up all around the state of Arkansas. A guy that we've talked about a lot that was an early commit, linebacker Brian Huff, 4-star from Jonesboro, Arkansas. He's a guy that I'm pretty excited about, but we've talked about him plenty because he's been committed for so long. And that's one thing about this signing class. Like, these guys that have been committed for months now.
Yeah,
just
like no wavering.
Super solid.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I hadn't really thought about. We didn't lose anybody really. We lost Cam Dooley maybe like a month ago, but really for the most part, we haven't lost anybody. No one's really looked around that I know of, at least not publicly. Brian Huff, really solid like interior linebacker, and then Nicholas Rodriguez is more kind of like the outside linebacker type style of player. So kind of got some versatility.
From Pine Bluff, Arkansas, we bring in defensive back Austin Dendy, 3-star. From Hudson, Florida, defensive lineman 4-star Elias Williams. People are very excited about him. He's got the measurables and, should be a guy that is contributing sooner rather than later. The only quarterback Missouri is taking in this class, 3-star Aiden Glover from Collierville, Tennessee. He's listed at 6'3", and he is definitely more on like the dual threat side of quarterback recruiting. And I don't think we actually ever talked about the fact that Jabari Johnson transferred. And I saw he had a transfer crystal ball to Oregon State, which makes sense. He's from Washington.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense if that's where he's going to go. Then they just lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
So it could mean that Missouri's quarterback room isn't going to see a whole lot of changes. That doesn't really necessarily mean anything, but we could see Jake Garcia and Sam Horn stick around for another year.
Yeah, I'd be fine running it back with those three.
Yeah, I mean, Jabari Johnson looked, at least just in some of the practice reps that we saw of him, he looked like a talented kid, and we knew that. So, yeah, you never like to see players leave, but, I get it, and it's probably going to be a couple of years before he even had a chance to compete for the starting job. So I understand.
Yeah, and it's just the situation is going to make it very easy to root for him and keep track of his career wherever he ends up. But Missouri brings in Aiden Glover at the quarterback spot. And another one of the more recent commits was running back Kawan Lacey, 4-star from Lancaster, Texas, committed to Missouri over Ole Miss, who seemed like the favorite for a long time to land him. I watched some of his film, and he's very intriguing to me because I'm not really a film guy here, but he looks like he's just like incredibly athletic and talented, and maybe just isn't very, like, his technique doesn't seem necessarily the best. Like, he's not a very technical runner because he's just so athletic and has good size and just is like running over guys, bouncing off of guys at the high school level.
Yeah.
But he kind of like runs upright and doesn't seem super decisive with his cuts and stuff. And that's interesting to me that Missouri would go after a guy that seemingly has the physical ability but needs to tune up, his technique.
Yeah.
He's like a coachable thing.
Yeah, for sure. Top 250 recruit in the country, so is well decorated as a recruit. He's 6 foot 205. So you mentioned running upright a little bit. I think he's just also kind of tall for a running back, or at least definitely taller than what we're used to see in a Missouri uniform.
Yeah.
I agree with you. He probably needs some refining on like when to just go down, because in high school, like, he has some insane clips where it's like, how is he still running?
Yeah.
Like, in college, like, you just learn to, you just know when to go down sometimes. But I think that he has the potential to be really, really good, and absolutely has the skills and the measurables and the size to play immediately.
And in high school, he lined up all over the offensive formations. He was
kickoff returner too.
Yes, so very versatile athlete there.
It sounded like you mentioned Ole Miss was the favorite, and really, I think a lot of people expected Ole Miss to be the choice even at his announcement, like a little ceremony, even just a few days ago. So I don't know what Missouri did there at the end, but they clearly did something last minute to kind of flip his decision, because I think a lot of people were really surprised by his announcement.
Another player that it did not seem like Missouri was going to land, but ended up pulling out of the state of Tennessee, is defensive back Jaron Sensabaugh, 4-star from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's another one where, I think when he announced, he's from Nashville. He grew up in Knoxville.
He was committed to Vanderbilt at one point, decommitted, and then Tennessee was the favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so pretty much everything about him was like Tennessee related.
Yeah.
And, I don't really know that Missouri staff expected to land him like a week ago, but things just kind of fell into place and ended up working out.
Another 4-star defensive back, this time from Florida, Cameron Keys. Any thoughts on him?
Another talented. There's a lot of defensive backs in this class, and I was going to add on Sensabaugh. I mean, he's 6 foot 170, so just they're going after like these kind of taller, longer cornerbacks, because they've had success with those guys. I think that's kind of like the build that we have gone for the last couple of years, and our cornerbacks are really good.
Yeah, and like Chris Abrams-Drain is like one of the smaller cornerbacks that have been starting under Drink. Mm-hmm. Next up from Madison, Alabama, defensive lineman Jalen Brown. He's a guy that his recruitment never really took off, like with any blue bloods or anything. But he has incredible measurables. Let me see if I can pull him up real quick. But he's a guy that I would look for, like, assuming he sticks around, like, year 3. If he puts it all together, he has the physical tools to be impactful for sure. And then the final 2 players here are special. The first one is special because he is the number 1 player in the state of Arkansas, and is another big wide receiver, Courtney Crutchfield, 4-star from Pine Bluff, Arkansas.
Yeah, another signing day victory, and it was formally committed to Arkansas and backed away from that fairly recently. And Missouri's had a lot of momentum, but you still never know until he announces, especially with someone as highly rated as Crutchfield. But yeah, his film is really fun to watch. You mentioned he's a bigger guy, 6'3", 180. He looks big on the film. He doesn't look like a high schooler.
Long arms.
But, he's not like a crazy separation guy, but he's, makes contested catches really well. Really sure-handed, has even a couple like one-handed grabs in his highlight tape and stuff. So, again, another guy that looks like, maybe the depth chart is the only reason that he doesn't come in and play immediately, but probably is talented enough.
I pulled up Jaylen Brown just to mention he's listed at 6'6", 260. Probably he could bulk up and play interior, but I would love to see him play on the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he could play opposite of some places have him as the number one player in the country, defensive end, 5-star from Lee's Summit North in Kansas City, Missouri, the second highest ranked signee for Mizzou in the modern recruiting era, Williams Nwaneri.
Just let that sink in for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, maybe one of the most dramatic recruitments I've ever followed.
Yeah.
And just has been incredible every step of the way. But I think everyone was, Missouri's been confident. He's never really wavered. I think Oklahoma would like to make everyone think that he wavered and went back and forth. Right. But it really seems like the more we hear about it, that he just was staying steady and would never really thought about changing his mind or anything like that. And you kind of hold your breath all the way up to signing day, but he's officially on board and he's signed, and we can relax because it's really happening. And not only that, but I think the Lee Summit North pipeline might
real.
It might be underway.
It's real. Yeah. So he, I mentioned number 2 highest rated signee. If I would have told you 2 years ago, or whatever, when Luther Burden,
yes,
signs with the Missouri Tigers.
That is not who I thought. That's not the name I thought you were about to say.
When Luther Burden signs, and I tell you, well, Kyle, that's really cool and everything, but 2 years from now, we're actually going to sign a player higher ranked than Luther Burden,
in maybe a more vital position.
Yeah. Potentially. It's truly a dream come true, because how many times on this podcast over the years have we said it's super great to land whatever player. It's usually like a 4-star wide receiver.
Right.
Like, wow, what a great addition.
Mm-hmm.
But man, could we get a 4 or 5-star offensive or defensive lineman? That would sure be really cool, because those positions are way more important, in theory,
right,
to a college football team.
Yeah.
And here we are with the best in the country.
Yeah, it's like there's been this gradual transformation where it's like, okay, we're getting better recruits.
Yeah.
Okay, but we have a lot of good skill players now.
Right.
We have a lot of good wide receivers.
Yeah.
Well, that's still great, but yeah, let's spread out the wealth a little bit. Let's get some difference makers, some big boys in the trenches, and now both with Williams Nwaneri and also some transfer portal additions, that's definitely happening. And man, it's just like I don't even know what to say anymore. It's like I'm trying to not take this for granted, because we just had a 10-2 season. We're recruiting better than we ever have. It's already starting to feel like the expectation, and I don't want to let myself go there, because it's just it's unprecedented what's happening.
Well, and it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but thinking back to the last time Mizzou football was rolling, anything in any way that resembles this was 2013, 2014, going to back-to-back SEC championship games. And that little sort of era of Mizzou football, one could argue, kicked off with Dorial Green Beckham, the number 1 player in the country, signing with the Tigers. And then, the team's the team is disappointing their first year in the SEC, but then they are firing on all cylinders, go to back-to-back SEC championship games. And it feels like this is the start of another era. But the thing about that previous era was it was rolling, and then it crashed and burned.
Yeah.
Almost as fast as Missouri football was coming up on the scene, it disappeared
Right.
for 4 seasons.
That's a good point.
To not take it for granted is
it did happen very fast and went away very fast.
Yeah.
And it does feel like this maybe could be a little bit better foundation that's been built over the last few years. And, hopefully Coach Drinkwitz is still just eyeing many years at Missouri and isn't planning on retiring like Gary Pinkel did.
Exactly.
Or going anywhere, taking another job. And because, if we're even rolling at a percentage of what we're doing right now, I think we're going to be happy with what's going on with the football program. So, yeah, it's like I almost run out of stuff to say that it's just like it feels like we've been saying this for a few months now. Like I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to keep happening here for a little while.
When Nwaneri committed and was added to the list that makes up the official class rankings, Missouri was still, like 50th or something in the country for their ranking. But we kind of talked about, well, there's very few commits right now. Even just the normal amount of 3 stars we typically get will bump it up into the mid-30s at least. But, sprinkle in a few 4 stars, and we're right back where we have been most of the time under Drink. That's exactly what happened. Finishing right around 25th, most likely, depending on what service you look at. I think 24/7 Sports has the class at 24th in the country, and it just feels good it feels so good to have those recruiting wins, go have a 10-win season, and then stay on schedule with recruiting.
Yeah, to finally see recruiting wins like start to show up on the field, an actual win-loss situation. I think that just makes these recruiting wins even more fun, knowing that like, okay, we have the staff in place to actually utilize this talent.
Yeah. Speaking of the staff, I feel like if you were listening to what Coach Drinkwitz has been saying about contract extensions and keeping his assistants around for a while, at least I thought we would already have all that out in the open and have news about their extensions by now. But the way he was
been
talking,
fairly public about it for a few weeks.
So he's still kind of saying the same thing. Like any day now, expect an announcement, and that he expects both coaches to be calling the plays in the bowl game. So I was like pretty worried about potentially Baker leaving for Tulane, but then that came and went, and now I was like, okay, there's no other scares out there. I think we should be totally fine. Seems like we're just waiting for the negotiations to finish up, but the longer it takes, it's just like slight worry, but I think everything will be fine.
I did actually see that Notre Dame's offensive coordinator position is open, and there was a potential that they were looking at Kirby for that.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to scare you, Cameron.
That's a lateral move. Not worried about it.
I know you. There's a heavy burden on you with these staff moves, but we'll see if that. Yeah, it is true though. It's like he's been very candid about extensions coming down.
So he's just literally setting us up for disappointment if it doesn't go the way.
That's why you just don't do that stuff. But we'll see. We'll see. He knows what he's talking about. It's all under control.
So great recruiting class. I would not have cared about the final ranking that much, honestly, as long as Nwaneri was in this class.
Right. And also that doesn't even include the transfers, which I think you could probably argue Missouri has a top 5 transfer class right now.
You stole my segue. But that you're allowed to. I was going to say, these guys won't necessarily contribute for a couple of seasons. However, we've got some guys coming in that are going to contribute right away.
I'm so sorry I ruined that. That was so good.
I still got to say it. But I was too early because I wanted to ask you about this high school recruiting class contributing right away, potentially. Williams Nwaneri, we can kind of set him aside. I feel like he's going to command some snaps early and often. And even if it's not if he's not out there every down as a true freshman, that's not a big deal. That's to be expected, even with the number 1 player in the country, honestly, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just sort of tempering my own expectations. But out of the rest of these guys, in their first 2 seasons or so, is there anybody that jumps out to you, maybe because it's a position of need or they're just maybe a diamond in the rough? Is there a couple guys that stand out to you that could be early contributors?
Yeah, I think it probably will feel like maybe an obvious pick. Maybe even both of these will feel a little bit obvious, but wanted to point out two guys, one on offense, one on defense, that I think could be out there pretty soon. And one of those is probably K'Wan Lacey, the running back from Texas. I mean, you mentioned he probably does need a little refining on some of his skills, so maybe that's something that holds him back a little bit from getting out on the field immediately. But maybe he'll see the field as a kickoff returner or something like that.
I was going to say, catching a kickoff and running fast, you don't have to refine that too much.
Right. But he's got a lot of time to figure that out over the offseason and kind of get acclimated with the plays and stuff. But, I do wonder, sometimes, I don't know, you never know what promises are made in recruiting. And obviously NIL is a big thing now, but, I still think that that's something that happens in recruiting is specific promises are probably made and expected to be upheld. So you never know what was said to Lacey to get him to flip kind of at the last minute. But I think he mentioned being able to play as a freshman. So I think that's something that could happen. And obviously the opportunity is going to be there most likely on the depth chart.
He must not have talked to Tavoris Jones or
see, that's the thing.
Jamal
it's
Roberts.
like, man, I still am holding out hope for Tavoris Jones, but you never know. I mean, it just doesn't seem too likely at this point. And there's still a few months left where he's moving on somewhere else, but that's not that's just total speculation.
So Lacey for the offensive player,
and then I'm gonna go with Elias Williams on defense. I think he was a little bit of a diamond in the rough when he committed, but isn't anymore. But a lot of big schools were after him by signing day, but he stayed true to Mizzou, and obviously that is an area where we're going to need some help. We probably could use it right now, actually, but I think that will be an area where he can make an impact really quickly, and he's just super, super talented. So we're probably going to have Williams on both sides of the ends.
Yeah.
Except first name Williams Winery.
Right. Yeah, I feel like there's even a couple more that there's like potentially going to be like 4 guys with Williams in their name on the field at the same time. Yeah, at some point. I think those are great picks, and I agree with you completely. I would also throw out Nicholas Rodriguez, the linebacker from St. Thomas Aquinas. You mentioned his recruitment kind of picking up in some of the bigger schools being interested late. And I feel like he's just an athletic, smart linebacker who will just make the plays. And I could see him like being like cracking the 2 deep as a true sophomore. That would not necessarily surprise me. And then, depending on injuries, he could see some playing time. So now we'll jump into the transfer portal. And the biggest news out of that is Cayden Green makes it official. The former 4-star recruit and number 2 player in the state of Missouri commits to Mizzou after transferring from Oklahoma. Yeah,
I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's like you run out of things to say because I just can't even believe that this is happening. But we talked about him last week. This was a total shock for pretty much everybody, including Oklahoma, probably even including Missouri, that Cayden Green was looking to transfer. This moved pretty quickly. We talked about Missouri and Oregon probably being the front runners. But I think the connections that Missouri has built, the relationships, and that pipeline, I think it's real. And so that was, I'm guessing, the most significant factor in Cayden Green's very short recruitment. But I mean, this is like adding an NFL player to your line. I mean, he has only played 1 season of college football. True freshman, was one of the best players in Oklahoma's line. They had a great offense.
Was one of the best players on their entire team.
Yeah, just immediately as like an 18, 19-year-old kid.
Freshman All-American.
Yeah, it just probably next year could be one of the best linemen in college football. And with at least 2 years left to play.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he'll play 2 years and then go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Because he's probably going to be, he is on the trajectory of someone who will be a first-round pick 2 years from now.
He literally has all the prototypical measurables for an early offensive line draft pick.
Yeah.
And has already produced as a true freshman on Oklahoma. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, it's as safe as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
So, obviously, just immediately will make an instant impact. So we've got Cayden Green and his buddy Armand M'Bou holding down the line. And so, I don't know. It's exciting stuff.
Yeah, that always felt like it always made sense, obviously. It's like, you got your high school teammates are coming. Sure. Like, can we not figure this out?
Home state.
Yeah. But he always seemed so committed to Oklahoma. But,
Yeah, it's definitely playing for the home school is cool right now.
Yes.
I mean, more so than it's ever been.
We've wanted it to be cool for so long.
We've finally done it.
It's always been cool to me.
Me too.
When I play NCAA 14,
I always choose Mizzou.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll try something different this time. Nope. Tigers.
I know. That's what I do. I'm like, I can't do it to them.
Yeah. They were counting on my commitment.
I know everybody online is going crazy if I commit somewhere else.
Exactly. They're saying, we'll see you in the transfer portal. Yeah. Cayden Green, just instant impact. Like, we were talking speculation about, like, if things go right this offseason, beating Ohio State would be a big step in this direction, but you're talking about maybe a top 10 preseason Missouri Tiger team. And this is one of those steps that makes that closer to a reality.
100%. Next year absolutely just looks like run it back year. Like all of the important pieces from this year's team, all of the staff, and then only making impact additions. Like, it's just, we're running it back.
Transfer portal, Missouri also got a commitment from former Georgia defensive end Darius Smith. There
you go.
I knew I was going to say it wrong.
I knew you would too.
I had forgotten.
We were practicing before, but it's okay.
No use.
I mean, we don't even really know for sure.
True. Former 4-star recruit, 6'5", 240. Didn't really play a whole lot at Georgia. Had the recruiting pedigree, but so does everybody else that goes to Georgia. So never really got a chance to shine. Did have a couple tackles against Missouri this year, though.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, just an athletic freak. 6'5", 240. He's probably better fit for defensive end, which it sounds like that's probably what he's going to play at Missouri. And you mentioned he played linebacker at Georgia, so maybe just wasn't in the ideal position for him. But, I mean, Georgia does that sometimes, though, just has those, like, freaks playing, like, outside linebacker. Mm-hmm. No, all due respect, of course.
Yeah.
That's
in a good way.
In a good way. But I think that'll be a really good spot for him is playing defensive end. But, yeah, he played in 16 games at Georgia and, had 2 tackles against Missouri this year.
And just to remind everybody that also already this year, Missouri has grabbed Marcus Carroll, the running back, and Toriano Pride. Don't forget about Toriano Pride is coming over from Clemson. Welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome home. I thought I would just mention transfer portal guys that have not chosen Missouri, that Missouri was taking a look at, that we've talked about before. Monroe Mills, offensive lineman, to Louisville. McKylan Pounders to Mississippi State. Chidozie Nwankwo to Colorado. Nias Peebles to Virginia Tech. Anybody else I'm missing there?
Remington Strickland was an offensive lineman from A&M we talked about last week. He's going to TCU. And then a guy we didn't actually talk about last week, but Jamon Dumas Johnson, who is a very productive linebacker from Georgia, is going to Kentucky.
Also in the high school ranks, Jeremiah McClellan committed to Oregon, which I've kind of
he flipped from Ohio State. He was a guy that we were talking about a few months ago, as maybe wanting to play with Ryan Wingo at Missouri. Obviously, neither one of those things happened.
Yeah.
But always kind of knew that Jeremiah McClellan might be a candidate to flip, but goes to Oregon instead. There's a couple other guys just that Missouri's still keeping an eye on in the transfer portal. Some guys that either have visited or probably will visit. And one of them is Chris McClellan, who is a defensive tackle who's transferring from Florida. It's probably between Missouri and Oklahoma. Missouri was involved with his recruitment coming out of high school, and so might be able to get him on the second time around.
Another recruiting battle with Oklahoma.
Yet another.
That's another thing about Cayden Green is Oklahoma, foolishly, is joining the SEC. We took one of the best players from a rival conference school.
We stole their recruit. We stole their current player, who is an NFL player.
We're stealing their life force.
And we're going to beat them next year.
Yeah.
Corey Flagg is a linebacker from Miami. He's kind of an interior linebacker. Did I say linebacker?
Yeah.
Linebacker from Miami?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just say something and your words just echo throughout your mind.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what did I say?
You said linebacker.
Okay, great. I don't. And then Jaquavius Marks is a running back from Mississippi State. I still think it's possible Missouri adds another running back before it's all said and done, but we'll see. So I think there's still a couple guys they still need to add to kind of shore up the linebackers. We're losing a lot of guys there, and can always take some guys in the trenches and stuff like that. But they're bringing in a lot of guys in the secondary in this freshman class. But we'll see if they add any more. I don't think they'll add any more in the transfer portal, but we'll see. So a lot of time left here. Guys will probably transfer after all the bowl games, and so there'll be transfers in the spring and all that. So
that's a good start, though.
That's an incredible start.
All right. So now we can move on to Ohio State, the Cotton Bowl. Number 7, Ohio State, 11-1 on the season. Only loss is to Michigan in the regular season finale. And just an incredible opportunity for Missouri. It kind of looked like maybe Ohio State was not taking this game seriously and a bunch of their players weren't going to play, but that has changed, and they're going to have a lot of their starters, even the ones that could go pro, most of them. We'll mention a few that are still up in the air. But just to start us off, a little bit about this Ohio State team. It's the 5th full season for Ryan Day at Ohio State. Has a 56-7 record. This is insane. 39-3 in the Big Ten. All 3 losses to Michigan. This season, they were the number 2 defense in the country in opposing points per game at 11. Second to Michigan. They were number 3 in yards per game against, number 1 in passing yards per game against, number 23 in rushing. Opponents against Ohio State's defense were only completing 52% of their passes this year. That's the 3rd lowest in the country. And they were completing those passes for just 5 yards per attempt, which is the lowest mark for any defense in the country. This is just kind of an insane stat. The longest pass play Ohio State has given up this year is 36 yards.
That's ridiculous.
So my first question to you, Kyle, for this Ohio State preview is, does this Missouri offense complete a pass for more than 36 yards?
Cameron, let me tell you something. I have a little fact.
Okay.
A little factoid about Ohio State. They play in the Big Ten. All those offenses suck.
Yeah.
Everything you just said is void because they're all terrible and they didn't play anybody.
Okay. That's true.
I'm joking a little bit, but
a little bit.
I think relatively that's maybe actually a little bit of truth to that. That Michigan, obviously, probably not the case there, but the Big Ten has some pretty terrible offenses existing within it, and I don't know, man. I definitely don't want to discredit this Ohio State defense. They're legit. They're really solid. They don't fall asleep at all. But yeah, I think Missouri could probably do that. I think they could complete a 36-yard pass.
Yeah.
I think they'll do it.
It needs to be 37.
37.
Yeah.
Yeah, to break the record.
Watch them complete a 36-yard pass. Yeah. Everything you said about the Big Ten is legitimately true. I mean, the Missouri's offense is right there with Michigan as the best offense Ohio State will play this year.
100%. I mean, that's just like a strategic thing they go for. I think in that conference, like it's like we don't do offense here.
Yeah.
We play good defense and we just run the ball and that kind of stuff.
But legitimately though, Ohio State has a defense full of really good tacklers, 4 and 5 star recruits up and down their lineup, future pros, all over the field. But it's definitely true that their numbers are slightly inflated by the offenses that they've gone up against.
Yeah.
And I feel like years ago, that was kind of said about the SEC as well. Like that was kind of a thing. It's like
old man football.
Exactly. Yeah. And like comparing Big 12 to SEC, it was like, well, Big 12 is putting up a bunch of numbers, but they don't play defense. Well, SEC has all these great defenses, but what are the offenses they're playing? The SEC has evened that out considerably. And I feel like Alabama getting serious about the quarterback position was kind of the start of all that. But now the Big Ten is still doing that, where it's all defense. The defense is led by senior linebacker Tommy Eichenberg, led the team in tackles this year and last year. They've got a top 50 NFL prospect cornerback Denzel Burke. He was maybe going to sit out, but now it looks like he's going to play. Another cornerback, Jordan Hancock, is potentially a future pro. He looks like he's going to play. Senior safety Josh Proctor led the team in passes defended, had a big pick 6 versus Maryland. He's most likely going to play. So this has all been Ohio State defense so far. That's their superior unit. I feel like they are going to be able to give Missouri's offense some problems. I feel like Missouri's offensive line should hold up. I think it's going to be, for Missouri's offense, trying to manufacture some explosive plays, because that's what Ohio State eliminates so well. So getting Cody Schrader to the second level, getting him to he's going to have to break a couple tackles by some linebackers that are just really solid.
Yeah. Absolutely. Georgia is incredible defense, but it will be interesting to see Cody Schrader go against another just totally legit like NFL defense. And yeah, you can make the argument Ohio State's linebackers are as good or better than Georgia, and they've had a month to prepare. And so, I don't know that we can just pencil in Cody Schrader for 150 yards in this game like we've seen from him the past, the last month or two of the season. I just don't know if Cody Schrader can be that automatic, and so we may have to find other ways to manufacture some first downs. And
I think it's going to need to be a balanced attack, and Brady Cook's going to have to be able to spread the ball around. I look for Brett Norfleet to be involved heavily, because obviously with these passing stats, you see Ohio State is like, okay, we're going to take away your deep shots. We're going to take away your options down the field. So you're going to have to settle for dink and dunk passing checkdowns and stuff.
Yeah, it almost feels like the way that Missouri gets a big pass play is like a short and like yards after the catch situation. Like, I don't know that they're going to try to throw it deep a lot. I don't think they're going to try to test the safeties and try to throw it over the top, and because they haven't done that very well as it is against now maybe the best defense they're going to face. Yeah,
I feel like Missouri's offensive game plan is going to be, we are going to take a deep shot when we have set it up properly with this, and this,
Yeah, got that second and short.
Yeah, exactly. But you almost can't be even that predictable with it. Like, you're going to set up play action, but then that's when you actually hit Norfleet underneath.
Yeah. You think we'll see any like surprise onside kicks or something? Like break that out again?
No, let me say no onside kick, but give me at least one
some kind of trickery,
razzle dazzle trickery.
I mean, my opinion is you don't get to play Ohio State very often. You better give them your best shot.
Yeah,
and in the grand scheme of things, this is a big opportunity, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, if you go out and play your best and lose, and you leave it all on the field, whatever. Ohio State and it is an absolute machine of a program, and they have all the talent in the world, all that stuff. Great opportunity to go win the game. Tell the recruits in St. Louis that you beat Ohio State, but if it's a swing and a miss, it doesn't affect really a whole lot in the grand scheme.
So swing for the fences.
Exactly. That's basically a long way of me trying to say, take risks, swing for the fences, just be aggressive, take some deep shots, whatever.
Exactly how we know Eli Drinkwitz likes to operate.
Yeah.
Right?
That's exactly his bunker mentality, yes.
Let's talk about Ohio State's offense a little bit. They have lost their season-long starting quarterback, Kyle McCord, to the transfer portal. He committed to Syracuse. That leaves Devin Brown as the starter for the Cotton Bowl. And I have a quote here from head coach Ryan Day. He said, what did he say? I maybe lost it.
He said he's fired.
He said, Ryan Day, this is from 11warriors.com, an Ohio State website. Ryan Day is, quote, fired up by Devin Brown's recent performance in practice and expects a very healthy quarterback competition in 2024. Now, I watched almost all of Devin Brown's throws when he was a little bit quarterback competition early and then some garbage time. And I was not impressed.
Yeah, I think I watched every throw he made this season. I wasn't too impressed.
The Youngstown State reps in particular, he looked awful.
Yeah.
And now it looked better against Western Kentucky, but after that, McCord won the job pretty handily, and they never looked back.
Yeah, Devin Brown is a sophomore. He's 6'3", 215, so he's a big guy. Against Youngstown State, he kind of ran the ball a little bit. I mean, I don't know that was like the game plan, and he's definitely not fast, but he's not totally immobile either. But I really don't think that is going to be a threat to Missouri whatsoever, is his legs. So you can pretty much count on him sticking around in the pocket. Against Youngstown State, he was 12 for 22.
Yeah.
That's 54% completion, hit 197 yards and 2 touchdowns and an interception. So that, I mean, we're talking about an FCS team at home, and just really struggled to put the ball where it needed to be. He was very inaccurate.
Was missing wide open guys on that game.
Yeah.
And weirdest thing of all is he wears number 33.
That's a little bizarre.
And
we're talking about like missing throw, like intermediate throws, like 10-yard throws down the field. He was just totally sailing them or throw them into the ground.
Now, Ryan Day is fired up by his recent practice performances, though.
That's true.
Don't underestimate your opponent here.
Coaches love practice.
They do, yeah. But honestly, like, they're going to figure out some kind of game plan that he'll be able to execute in some capacity. He's on their team for a reason. He's not an absolute scrub, but he has not shown anything yet.
But he doesn't really scare you either.
No,
like Missouri had to play against Cayden Daniels. So
exactly.
They'll figure it out.
He lost the competition to the starter that they did not care if he stuck around for next year, and he transferred to Syracuse.
Yeah.
So
he's got some weapons, though.
That is true. Starting with Heisman finalist Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, we just talked about Ohio State for like 12 minutes somehow without mentioning Marvin Harrison Jr., who might be the best player in college football, at least talent-wise.
Second best to Luther Burden, but yeah.
Exactly. I mean, probably some people would argue he's a little overrated.
Maybe they might. Maybe some people listening to this podcast might claim
You're right.
that.
Maybe that's what I should be saying instead. He's overrated. Don't worry about it. And he probably won't even play.
that he is actually one of the only ones left that might not play.
Yeah.
To preserve his pro prospects.
Yeah, it feels like he probably won't and shouldn't, but he totally still could.
Yeah, great season for him. Obviously, Heisman finalist, 67 receptions, 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a red zone guy for sure.
And then they did have some injury issues on their offense with their skill players. Number 2 wide receiver, Emeka Ibuka, he only played in 9 games, had 35 receptions, 450 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And actually, their second leading receiver was tight end Cade Stover, 41 receptions, 576 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Similar to what I think Missouri's going to try to do, getting the tight end involved. I think they're going to try to do some safety valve stuff for Brown with Stover because he's very reliable. And also running back Travion Henderson is a good pass catcher, has 19 receptions for 229 yards and in 9 games this year.
Yeah.
So I feel like
they can beat you in a lot of different ways. And you mentioned Egbuka. He had a pretty disappointing season comparatively to last year, but he was a little bit injured, and obviously the quarterback play, the quality of the quarterback play went down significantly, going from C.J. Stroud to McCord, but still very talented and could be a first-round pick in the draft. Henderson could be the best running back Missouri plays this season. He's been at Ohio State for 3 seasons. He's kind of just been a staple in that backfield for a long time. He's played in a lot of huge games.
Probably looking to go pro after this.
There was something else I was going to say. Don't remember what it was. Go ahead. Oh, I do remember now.
Go ahead.
I do think Missouri's been a little bit susceptible to good tight end play. Like on defense, they didn't play super well against Oscar Delp. He was honestly maybe like the MVP for Georgia in that game. So Stover definitely is a guy I'm a little bit worried about, and could have some big plays in this game.
And I feel like the two offenses in this game, my prediction is they will look somewhat similar in what they're trying to do. I think they're going to try to establish the run and then give the quarterbacks easy completions, try to lull the defense to sleep, and then take a deep shot every once in a while. We've seen Missouri do that in several games this year in conference play, and Ohio State, we would have talked about how Kyle McCord's stats this year are almost identical to Brady Cook's.
Yeah.
Outside of probably rushing touchdowns. But I look for both offenses to play it safe. Where Missouri can maybe push the envelope is if they just try to be more creative than what Ohio State's offense will be comfortable doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Missouri's defense... I like Missouri's defense against Ohio State's offense. I like that matchup more than... what am I trying to say? The other way around.
Yeah, I do. I like Missouri's defense against Devin Brown.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's just not a matchup that scares me. They're gonna make some big plays. He's gonna get to his weapons, but I don't know that if he's able to do it consistently enough. And I mean, this could be an ugly game.
Yeah.
Missouri at times has struggled on offense. This is a great defense. They're super consistent. Wouldn't surprise me if this is like a 24-20 kind of game or something like that.
Both defenses, I think, are going to try to force the offenses to maintain long drives. If you're going to score a touchdown, it's going to be, a 12-play drive. And like the Ohio State-Michigan game, there was a lot of drives that got to the red zone, but then stalled out at the 10-yard line. And Missouri has not. They are good at scoring when they get in the red zone, but it's oftentimes 3 instead of 7.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be something to watch.
Yeah. Field goals might be enough in this kind of game. We'll see. But, I mean, you mentioned it when we first started talking about Ohio State. This is a game that initially I thought was a game that Missouri was going to care about a lot more than Ohio State. And maybe that's true for the fans. I don't know. But Ohio State has absolutely proved me wrong, at least on what my initial perception of the situation was. And they've proved that they're going to take this game seriously, and they're going to have their talent show up. They're going to have their NFL prospects show up. They don't have their starting quarterback that they had all season long, so which will make a difference. But
they absolutely do not seem to care.
They don't, and I think they're still going to come out and try to win the game as hard as they can. So, I don't think that this is a walk in the park. I don't know that I ever thought it was, but
There was a brief moment where it looked like almost all every draft eligible player that was going to go in the top 5 rounds was not going to play for Ohio State. There was like a brief moment where I was like, this could be an actual Mizzou blowout.
I do think Ohio State as a program might just be in a little bit of a transitionary period though, because if they don't really have like that stud quarterback, and they are losing some of their biggest players to the NFL. But they might be using that as motivation, though, as some of these young players, it might be the first time they're getting a crack at playing. And so this is kind of the start of their playing career, some of these guys that might get a chance to play. So I would not fall asleep in this game whatsoever, and I don't think that Missouri would ever do that against in a New Year's Six bowl against Ohio State. I don't think they're doing that. But so motivations seem to be strong on both sides. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a really good game.
If Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't play, they already lost their third leading wide receiver to the transfer portal. So look for freshman Carnell Tate I think that's like the next guy up as in this long line of elite
Yes.
Ohio State wide receivers that the fans are excited to see what he can do.
Yeah,
and a lot of times what these Ohio State fans are used to seeing a little preview of what's to come from their 5-star recruits in the bowl game.
Exactly. So they might look to feature Tate a little bit in this game. Absolutely.
I like Missouri to win this game.
It's a prediction time.
It's prediction time. It's going to be close. It could be ugly. I feel like both offenses are going to do just enough to keep it entertaining and make some splash plays. I think Missouri wins this game 31-29.
Okay, I found this on the web for Missouri wins this game.
Siri is trying to help me find out if Missouri is going to win this game.
That'd be good to know. I'm about to make my prediction. Yeah, man. When we started this season, I did not think that we were going to be here. I thought we'd have a good season, but we surpassed even the most ridiculous expectations, probably. Got one more game. Enjoy it. I hope it's fun.
Coach Drink needs a bowl win.
He does. This would be a good time to get that. I feel like it's going to go fast, though. I feel like it's like 3 or 4 hours should not go by this fast.
Yeah.
But it always does. And then we got a long off season after that. So
yeah, for this bowl game, stop the clock after every first down. I want to soak it in.
I want to soak it in for sure. Yeah.
If this goes poorly, though, I will not want to be soaking it in. But we're not going to worry about that.
Yeah, Missouri's about to play one of the most historic programs in college football that they don't get to play very often. So just soak it all up, soak it all in. But I'm predicting Missouri win as well. And I'm going to say 27-23.
I like it. Got to go get that win.
Got to get that win.
It's going to be a fun game no matter what, I think. It's just like there's going to be watching Luther Burden play, it's like it's such a long time between the end of the regular season that it almost feels more like what I was saying with the Ohio State fans, just like looking to the future already.
It already feels like an alumni game for some of these guys. Like, Cody Schrader's coming back to play in this game.
Exactly, yeah.
It's been so long already.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what Brady Cook and Kirby Moore can get going there offensively. So we're both predicting a win, and that leaves the last thing to do here is SEC Pick'em minus Nebraska.
So sad.
Bowl game edition. And this is special because, we're playing for these upsets. And, the last few weeks, it's like, the lines
Been
are
scratching and clawing.
Yeah, and I haven't had many upset opportunities to try to take advantage of. But with these bowl games, every game is an upset opportunity.
Yeah, this is an awesome slate, and there's some really tough games to pick for sure.
One more, before we get to that, actually, Ohio State fans are a little bit delusional. In case anybody didn't know, I was just like perusing their SB Nation site, and here's two headlines. First headline: even though things haven't been going well for Ohio State, it's not time to panic, but it might be soon. Team that went 11-1, playing a New Year's Six bowl, has only lost 3 conference games in the last 3 seasons.
Well, no matter what happens in the future of Missouri football, I hope we never get like that. Like, appreciate elite seasons, and hopefully the 12-team playoff will help.
Yeah,
like more teams will feel like relevant at the end of the year.
Yes. One other headline: is Ryan Day asleep at the wheel, or does he have a few tricks up his sleeve?
He's fired up.
He is fired. He's fired up. Is he asleep at the wheel? Coach that just went 11-1. It was like 2 plays away from going to the playoff.
I have one recruiting note actually that I forgot to say. Trajan Greco is a. You can keep the music on. That's fine. It's a nice little bop. He just slowly goes back on. Trajan Greco
guys. False
is a former Georgia Tech commit who decommitted a few months ago. He's a cornerback, and he visited Missouri, and people will feel pretty good about it. And also, so he apparently signed with a team, but is not announcing who he signed with.
I kind of love that.
And
mystery signing.
Announced on January 6th. But there was a graphic that went out on Twitter, and it was like all the Missouri signees were posting it, and it was like all this Christmas graphic of all the little stockings of the players' names on it, and Greco's name was on a stocking, and so that got quickly deleted. But the internet always remembers.
Yes, the graphic got reposted without his name in it. Like
yes. So some people saw that. So you can probably expect Trajan Greco to commit to Missouri on January 6th.
Luckily, they did that on the day that he signed the paperwork. So
correct.
Hopefully there's no like
can't go back on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Onward.
Okay, let's pick some games. What's our totals? How bad am I losing?
He's already mad about it.
I got to get in the zone.
He's just
here.
ready for this season to be over.
No, I'm still in this. I'm not going to get rattled.
Okay. On the season, Kyle's in first place with 81. I have 80. The guest pickers have 79, and Cameron has 75.
I'm not out of this.
You're not out of it. I feel like I've been leading for a while now, which is just sets up this perfect opportunity to like have it stripped from me in the last week.
Peaked too early.
That's what they say. I'm afraid.
Okay, our guest pickers.
I just want to be on this
This week
trophy
are
again.
Britt and Tyler.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a collaboration.
That's it.
We just collaborated on that word.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to you guys. And I know it takes multiple of you guys to take us down.
And we actually did. We actually did have a little bit of like back and forth, a little discussion.
Yeah.
Some changed picks.
Yeah.
A real collaboration.
I just like attach myself to you, who's winning, just to say that like they haven't beat us.
Oh, you're on here twice, Cameron. on
That's
this trophy.
true. That's true.
Maybe not this year.
I've lost my way, I guess. All right, what's that first matchup?
All right, first up we have the Texas Bowl. Texas A&M and number 20 Oklahoma State. Texas A&M is a 2-point favorite.
That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Does the new coach just come in and try to coach this game? What did he even do there?
I don't know.
Does Jimbo come back? Like, hey, Jimbo, we'll throw in an extra $5 million. Just come back and win this bowl game for us.
You just needed one more opportunity to
What
talk
is
about
Jimbo doing right now?
Probably like standing on the diving board, about to dive headfirst into his pool of money.
Hey, you can even swim in a pool of money in December.
Yeah, exactly. Heated money pool.
Money pool. Yeah, I'm going to take Oklahoma State.
Me too. So do the guest pickers.
I'll take Texas A&M.
It's too easy, man. It's like the better team is the underdog, according to the line.
Yeah.
Can't fool me.
I'll take Texas A&M and like the 11 players that are left on their roster. They're going to have to play both ways.
Next up we have the Gator Bowl. Number 22 Clemson against Kentucky. Clemson is a 5.5-point favorite.
Clemson.
You're not even going to go for the upset pick?
Nope.
You're just that
I'll do
far.
it. Kentucky, please.
Wow.
I'm out on Kentucky.
Okay, I'll go Clemson.
Guest pickers go Clemson.
Could be an ugly one.
Yeah.
Could be. Next up, the Peach Bowl. Number 11, Ole Miss, and number 10, Penn State. Penn State is a 4-point favorite.
This is going to be a fun one, I think. I'm excited for this matchup.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tune into this one.
A great offense versus great defense. I legitimately don't know what to do.
I'm going to pick whoever nobody else picks.
I think I got to go Penn State.
I'll go Ole Miss. Guest pickers go Ole Miss.
I'll go Ole Miss.
On an island.
Trying to catch Kyle.
What is a Nittany lion? Nittany?
Nittany.
Mittany?
Mutiny.
Mutiny Lion.
Nittany.
Isn't it like
kind of like a
It means
cougar?
it means single mountain.
mountain lion?
Yeah.
single mountain? King of the mountain?
I think it's like
It's like
Native American something.
that's the origin of the word.
Yes.
Okay.
Single mountain lion.
So the Penn State.
Not the lion is not singular. It's like a single mountain. Single mountain, and there's a lion on it.
Okay.
Next up, we have the Music City Bowl. Auburn and Maryland. Auburn is a 7-point favorite.
Heck if I know.
Yeah. Auburn, sure.
Yeah, I think I got to go Auburn.
I gotta make sure I got this one right. Guest pickers take Maryland.
He's making sure he gets it right. Does he know
Did the game already
results?
Making sure I got the guest
I think
pickers
it was the
picks
line.
right.
Oh, never
You,
mind.
you guys both take Auburn?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
He's
All right, I'll take Maryland.
ooh, Tagovailoa.
Yeah, that's true. He's the quarterback.
Next up, we have the Orange Bowl. What's so funny?
Just like awkward pause after I said Tagovailoa.
I was just thinking
Like
of the
honor.
time that Cam thought that Tua was the other Tua.
Yeah, I picked Taulia in a fantasy football draft. Why he was available when he's still in college, I don't know. But I picked him thinking it was Tua.
How'd that work out?
Not well. He didn't score any points for me, believe it or not.
How did he even do that?
Okay, we've got number 6 Georgia and number 5 Florida State. Georgia is a 14-point favorite.
And Britt specifically said Georgia by 100.
So if they don't win by 100, Britt, you don't get those points.
Yeah,
Well,
that's what happens when
the
you be
rules.
specific.
I personally don't think it'll be 100-point victory, but I do think Georgia will win, and that's just my pick.
I'm going to just
Me too.
actually agree with the Georgia by 100.
Okay,
Might as well.
Yeah.
That's that.
Poor Florida State, though. I'm still.
Yeah.
Nah. That's all I got for him.
All right. The Citrus Bowl. Number 17, Iowa, and number 21, Tennessee. Tennessee is an 8.5-point favorite.
We were talking about earlier, before we started recording, SEC homerism and how, for the most part, you and I are into it. But there's exceptions.
We drank the poison.
Yeah, there's exceptions to our SEC homerism. And one of those exceptions revolves around Tennessee. And I don't want them to win this game. I would love to see them lose to Iowa.
Would you really?
Yes.
Iowa is just like the grossest.
Yeah, so how funny would it be if Tennessee lost to them?
That'd be pretty funny. If they lose, you understand this game is like 3-0.
True.
I don't know if they can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Iowa's not scoring more than 10 points.
No.
I gotta pick Tennessee.
I'll take Tennessee. Guest pickers, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
You're not even going upset.
No, Tennessee.
Okay.
I got to play for the win here. I've made my moves so far. I got to bank this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all pick Tennessee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd love to see
No
them lose
sweat.
to Iowa.
Now I would. Yeah.
Next up is the ReliaQuest Bowl.
The classic ReliaQuest Bowl.
I've literally never heard that word in my life.
We have Wisconsin.
That's why you buy a bowl game.
Yeah.
Advertising.
Now we know about them.
We have Wisconsin and number 13, LSU. LSU is a 10-point favorite.
I literally think LSU. Jaden Daniels is playing in the game, right?
I don't know. Let's find out.
We better.
If he's playing, I literally think LSU will win this game by 5 touchdowns.
LSU's Daniels to enter NFL draft, skip bowl game, ESPN 2 days ago.
He's skipping the bowl game.
Yep.
Well, that changes things. Man, we saw their backup quarterback come in.
Jeez, don't remind me of that.
They're still a 10-point favorite,
Yeah.
even with the backup.
Yeah.
I wonder if Neighbors is playing. Can you look that up? This is important stuff. We got pick them on the line here.
Malik Neighbors will play for LSU in the ReliaQuest Bowl.
Okay, give me LSU.
They're going to play him at quarterback?
Might as well.
ReliaQuest is a force multiplier of security teams to increase visibility, decrease complexity, and manage risk through the gray matter security operations.
Oh yeah, that's really decreasing the complexity.
Yeah, it's a terrible mission
Holy
statement.
crap.
As a professional mission statement writer, that's terrible.
Yeah.
In what world does that company have the desire to sponsor a bowl game?
You know,
Really got it.
They
I mean,
make-
we're talking about it.
they
so-
make security possible.
Great.
I'll
Anyway.
take Wisconsin.
Oh,
That's the dumbest pick I've ever
everybody
made.
else is LSU.
You're gonna end up winning.
Let's go. I appreciate your confidence.
And maybe last pick 'em of the season, maybe not. If Alabama advances, we'll pick one more game. The Rose Bowl. Number 4, Alabama, and number 1, Michigan.
Now, first draft, Britt penciled in Michigan. Decided take it or leave it. Didn't feel too strongly. Tyler came in.
With a wave of confidence.
He laid down the fraudulent stamp on Michigan on 13-0, number 1 ranked Michigan.
That's true. I haven't done the fraudulent stamp in a little while.
You gonna
But-
go with it with Tyler?
It's time.
Okay.
Michigan. Fraudulent. We're going to Alabama.
Wow.
I'll take Alabama.
I'll take Alabama.
Wow.
I'll take Michigan. I'll take Michigan.
All right.
I want Alabama to win, though.
Hedging.
Let it be known. Nick Saban, win the national championship, retire right off in the sunset.
Yeah. Yep.
Please.
I'd take that. We definitely don't want Texas to win, right?
agree.
This is not pick 'em, but just
Texas lose.
Texas lose. We want it. Just give me like a Washington, Alabama championship.
Yeah.
Well, that's that.
Okay. Let it start back up.
It's on a loop, man.
Okay. Is that all we have?
That was a long one.
Oh, yeah. Can't wait to see the numbers on that. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above. Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan Demore, Tristan Ben Smith, Parker Daddy JD, Tim Keens, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Groffalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, Luis Hernandez, and Joshua Jacobson. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you. We love you. And you can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you next week.